Hello, everyone. My name is Alec Asbridge, Director of Business Operations here at the Georgia Department of Agriculture, and we'd like to thank you for watching today and also for your patience as we've been developing this new model. The new model comes after careful consideration of the current poultry marketplace and how it has evolved over the years, and our hope is the successful continuation of the department providing useful information to all parties for price discovery for poultry products. We'd like to thank those of you who took the time to submit questions last week, and we have done our best to incorporate our answers to those questions in our presentation today. This route forward was chosen after direct consultation with a number of academia, federal agencies, and private industry, and we are confident that with their input and guidance, we have created a useful tool for the poultry marketplace. A couple questions to address first. The publication of the price index by any party will be at that party's or individual's own discretion. The index is built to represent the contract marketplace for poultry rather than the spot market, so information may differ as those are two entirely different marketplaces. At this time, the department will not continue reporting the parts prices it has in the past or the whole bird prices it has in the past. Some basics behind the new model. It will be published each Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it will be reported on the website as well as through an email that any individual can subscribe to, and the link will be posted on the website soon. Also, next Tuesday at 1 p.m., the department will be conducting a conference call where we will answer live questions, and we hope that you all will participate. Specific information regarding the conference call will be posted on the website later this week. Some of the things we're going to cover today: we'll do a general overview of the model itself, some discussion on the methodology and data collection. We also review the producer form, in which information will be inputted by the producers and then the outputs that it creates that will be submitted. We'll also go over the actual GPPPI calculation form, which we will be utilizing in calculation of the producer price indexes to be reported. Some basics. What will be reported to the department is the aggregate total sales volume of weekly sales and the weighted geometric mean of actual prices. The outputs will be the weekly change in a percent change in demand and sales, and then you will get indexes on a 1-month base, 6-month base, and 12-month base. Discussion on the percent change in weekly sales. This is to provide a baseline view into the weekly demand for poultry sold on contract. Actual sales of products vary greatly from week to week, and this is meant to directly show that correlation from week to week. The prices associated with the increase or decrease in sales will be reflected in the index reports as they are reported. The basis behind why an index rather than a price in and itself. The poultry industry is unique in how it is dealing with a product that is of a short life cycle. You have vertical integration as well as low input costs, which results in a constant supply of product. You also have a variety of different products in the marketplace. You can have whole birds from 2.5 pounds up to 9 to 10 pounds. You have different processed products, diced, cut, wings, a variety of different products that are represented in the marketplace. However, each of these products is homogeneous in nature and therefore is representative of poultry, but reporting a specific price to represent one single product is difficult to do. Whole bird, as an example, a 2.5 pound bird is going to cost significantly different than a 10-pound bird, and that price difference is difficult to represent in a standard bird form. An index can rely on the actual pricing of a standard mix of products and is representative of poultry production, and it does not need to specify the specific products in which it represents. So it doesn't need to specify the 9-pound bird versus the 2.5-pound bird. Indexes in general, producer price indexes, are utilized by a number of different industries and are reported commonly by the Department of Labor, and they are meant to track price changes over time. These are usually done on a much wider scale. The GPPPI will narrow the scope of traditional producer price indexes while increasing the amount of information utilized in its creation. By creating this composite index for poultry products sold on contract, the department is able to represent the contract marketplace for poultry and provide useful data for price discovery. The actual pricing of all product will continue to be between the buyer and the seller. So what exactly will our index represent? It is meant to represent poultry sold on contract, not including any spot load sales. Other reports put out by other entities specifically focus on the spot market, where the contract market is not represented, and the goal of this index is to provide an insight into the contract marketplace. It is meant to represent poultry sold on a premium to contract buyers. Premium is not meant to reflect the quality of a certain product, but rather the definition of the contract type. It is understood that the spot market represents a very small portion of sales of poultry and therefore would not be representative of an accurate summation of the entire poultry marketplace. As we have heard it a number of times, sell it or smell it represents the spot market, and the contract market is what drives the industry. The information collected will represent actual pounds sold and actual sale prices of poultry products. No standard size of bird or part equivalent will be required. By measuring the proportionate change in the prices, the indexes can determine price changes from a variety of products. Consistent with the Department of Labor, U.S. Department of Labor, procedures in establishing producer price indexes, the standard product mix will not be finalized until discussions have taken place with the producers themselves. This is done to make sure that we encapsulate the entire marketplace. The product mix will seek to include products that have not been further processed, but will include processed products such as wings, parts, any of the parts, diced, but that will be done after direct consultation with the companies. Once a standard product mix has been established for the GPPPI, that list of products will be published on the website next to the weekly reports. That way, you're able to look at the products that are incorporated in the index week to week. Any changes to that standard product mix will be adequately denoted on the website and the weekly mailing. Participation in the report is and has always been of a voluntary nature, and therefore it is impossible to determine at this time the number of participating producers. We hope to see full participation from producers operating in the state of Georgia, and in order for us to satisfy academic standards, the department will need a minimum of 3 data sources in order to report the index. Our goal is more. If the department is unable to receive data from an adequate number of producers, then we will not be able to proceed with the report. The number of participating companies will be included on the report each week. However, the names of the companies will not be reported. Input from any interested party is always appreciated and will be sought throughout the process if there are any concerns. For the primary reports published in February, the discussions will be had with the producers, and the department will request that historical information be submitted consistent with the reporting procedures moving forward. This will enable the department to begin reporting the 3 indexes starting in February. However, if producers are unable or unwilling to provide historical information, then each index will not be able to be produced until a sufficient time has elapsed for the base periods to be established. All the pricing and volume data will not be available to the public, and all proprietary information will be kept for a period no longer than 2 weeks. To go into a little bit more detail into the methodology, we have a couple different aspects to consider. So when the U.S. Department of Labor does their producer price indexes, they rely on a modified version of the last pairs index. This is just based off of the inability to get more data. But what the last pairs index measures is the price compared to the base period's price weighted against the quantities in the market at the base period. The PASH index, which is an alternative to the last pairs index, is similar in that the price is compared to the base period's price, but the index is weighted to the quantities in the current marketplace or in the current period. The Fisher's Ideal Price Index, which is what we will be utilizing, is a combination of those two indexes and is used to insulate from large changes in price and quantities due to, whether it's avian influenza or anything of that nature. This helps insulate from those drastic changes. All this information that will be fed into this formula will be obtained on a voluntary nature. All the information submitted must reflect actual invoice pricing from all poultry products sold from the specified product mix. Information submitted must be calculated using the prescribed forms provided by the department, which we will review in a little bit. Each submission will consist of the weighted geometric mean of all invoice prices in cents during the prior week's period, as well as the sum total of all sales in pounds. Each price reporting period will begin on Monday at 12 a.m. Eastern and conclude the following Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Price and sales volume data must be submitted to the department no later than 1 p.m. Eastern on the Tuesday following the close of the prior week's period. The index will be reported each Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. To give a little explanation of what will be actually produced, each index will have a baseline level of 100, which would indicate no change in prices. An index value higher than 100 will indicate an increase in price, and below 100 will indicate a decrease in price from the base period. The three separate indexes will report for base periods of 4 weeks, 26 weeks, and 52 weeks. All right, so to go into a little bit more review, we're going to go and look at the actual documents used in the formulation and calculation of the indexes. So this is an example of the producer form that will be filled out from week to week. These are hypothetical numbers using hypothetical contract types. So in this will be actual invoiced sales during the week period. So you'll have, for example, a whole bird with contract A of 1.2 million pounds at a contract price of 103.22. The buyer's contact name and information will be included on this form, and this will assist in the verification and data review process. All this will encapsulate all sales during the period. So each of these lines will represent a specific invoice for sales that week. At the bottom, we'll aggregate and total all the sales for the week. And in this cell is the weighted geometric mean of all the prices sold that week. The reason we use the geometric mean was essentially to give the same weight to a lower price product as opposed to a higher price product. It gives the weighting more evenly across the board. This will automatically feed into the report, which will be sent to the department for use in the calculation of the indexes each week. So the weighted geometric mean price, as well as the total weekly sales. This will be used to go into our data collection. So again, using hypothetical numbers, here you have company A, which we just looked at. for this week's price being reported and total weekly sales. These numbers are filled in to essentially be able so that we can produce some index numbers for you to look at today. In this example, we did not create 12 months of hypothetical data. We created 12 weeks. So these will be changed to reflect months, 6 months, and 12 months, rather than a week, 6 weeks, and 12 weeks. When this date is changed, say to you get highlighted the representative prices used during that week. This then feeds into two separate calculations. So we have the weekly percent change in sales, which are aggregated in this category here. This takes the aggregate total sales volume across all companies and will be compared to last week's. So in this scenario, there is a minus 3.775% change in sales from the prior week. Moving forward into the index calculations, we have our 1 month, 6 month, and 12 month base periods. You have the data of the current month here, which is tied to this, and then the base month period, which will be tied to the base month associated with that calculation. So what this does is essentially produces all the components of the Fisher's Ideal Price Index formula, aggregates it down here, and creates the producer price index for calculation. To calculate the percent change in price from week to week, it will be a direct comparison of the value for the month to month compared to last week's report for the month to month. And that formula for calculation can be found on the quick links section in the frequently asked questions for the U.S. Department of Labor's producer price index. And we can go into that in further detail in the conference call next week if necessary. So the data calculation in this is all tied to these three index reports, and the output will be these month-to-month values, 6-month base and 12-month base, as well as the percent change in demand. This will be what is posted on the website, as well as what is sent out to the email list. This will now cover our actual verification process and data review process. So our data review and verification process will be in two parts. One, we will be requiring attestations that the information submitted to the department is true and accurate, and that will be required of each of the producers submitting information. There will also be a random review that will be done on a regular basis and will be performed as a regular spot check review of the producer's price lists that they will fill out to complete the necessary information. So this form here, this information will be subject to review, and that will be done through a combination of confirmation with the buyer and or review of actual receipts submitted by the producer. We feel that this process is consistent with other price reporting systems and will ensure accurate reporting of the price indexes. We'd like to thank you for joining us for today's video. We hope it shed a little light on our new route forward. We would welcome any comments and concerns to be submitted to the email address listed here, as well as any questions or concerns brought up on the conference call next Tuesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Other than that, you can check the website for any updates as well as information on the conference call next week. thank you for taking the time today, and really look forward to working with you in the future.